sharing first before we share on Twitter, right? Let's just tweet this out before we get started. We're acting. All right, good. Good to vach, everybody. We are on the 19th page of Avodah Zarah. Yud Tes. So we just spoke about in yesterday's daf, which we did Thursday, about going to circuses and theaters, and it would seem that the main issue about going to such places in Roman times was that there was murder and idolatry and licentiousness. Well, the Gimel Chamuras were going on there. Might not necessarily apply today, but still it seems to indicate that it's pious to avoid going to such places. So we have Amar of Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar of Yonason, Ashrei Ish Asher Lo Halach Batzos V'Shoyim. They're quoting from the very famous pasuk, the very famous verse at the beginning of Tehillim, the first Psalm, where it says, "Happy is the man who did not walk in the counsel of the wicked." So since the expositions have been on this verse, excuse me, so based on that, we'll see some other expositions that the sages had on this very famous verse. So the man who didn't walk in the counsel of the wicked, Zarah Avinu. We're on our daf. This refers to Abraham, our patriarch. Shelach v'atzis anshe dor haflaga. Sh'rishayim hayu shnemahava nivna lanu ir. Abraham, if you do the math of when he lived, he was a young man at the time of the building of the Tower of Babel. And so even though he was alive then, he didn't participate, Abraham didn't participate in the building of the Tower of Babel, and he did not follow the advice of those who built the Tower of Babel. And so that's what it means, happy is the man who didn't walk in the counsel of the wicked, that the people who built the Tower of Babel, had a wicked counsel, they had wicked advice, and Abraham didn't follow that. And the people who built the tower, Shushoim Hayu, they were wicked. Shenamar, as it says, Hava Nivna Lanu Ir. Let us go build a city. What's particularly evil about building a city, we'll see. But we see he was about 48 years old at the time when this was happening, and he didn't participate. Furthermore, the same verse in Psalms, the first Psalm, continues. We can expound it to be homiletically speaking about Abraham, about Avram Avinu. He didn't stand in the way, in the path, in the road of the sinners. Who were the sinners? He didn't stand up with the people who are standing in Sodom. They were sinners. As it says that the men of Sodom, it says in Genesis 13, the men of Sodom were wicked and very sinful to the Lord. He didn't sit in the seat of scorners. What does that mean? Again, Abraham, he didn't participate with the jesting and the scornfulness of a certain company. Who was that? Those were the Philistines. Because the Philistines were scorners and jesters. Where do we know that? Because even later in their history, we find that we see in Judges 16:25 that the Philistines, they got drunk, they were hanging out, and they said, let's go get Samson so we could, joke around, have a good time laughing at him. Excuse me. Another understanding of this verse, Ashrei Yish Yireis Hashem, a different verse. In Psalm 112, it says, "Praise the Lord, hallelujah. Happy is the man who fears the Lord, and who really loves to do his mitzvos, to do the commandments." So Ashrei Yish Yireis Hashem. Happy is the man who fears the Lord. Ashrei Ish, v'lei Ashrei Isha. So Gemara asks, why does it say Ish? Why does it say man? What about a woman? So Amar of Amram, Amar Rav Ashrei Misha Oised Tshuva Kshu Ish. This usually we don't ask questions like this. A man, not a woman. Why would we even ask that? So why do we say a man, not a woman? So the answer is it's not talking about male or female. Amar of Amram Amar Rav Ashrei Misha Oised Tshuva Kshu Ish. Amram said the name of Rav. He said that means happy is a man who repents when he's still a man, when he's still strong and healthy. Not that he waits until he's old and frail and he can't do any sins anyway, or too many. So he could still do a lot of sins. He can't do as many sins as he was able to when he was young and healthy. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi Omar Ashrei Misha Miskaber Al Yitzray Keish. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says that what it means to be a man is, some people think like it's manly to do some kind of big, feat of strength. And Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says the real feat of strength is to overcome the Yetzer Hara, to overcome one's desires and lusts and inclinations, just meaning he's strong and he overcomes in a big fight. This is what it means, happy is the man who fears the Lord. That he mans up. That verse in Psalm 112 continues, he really loves the mitzvos, the commandments. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar says, what's going on here with this? Page is falling out. Mitzvaisav v'schar mitzvaisav. So Rabbi Elazar says that the love is for the commandments themselves and not for the reward of the commandments. Meaning some people are like, I like to be religious because I know I'm going to go to heaven. And the psalmist is saying, no, it's not about some reward you're going to get in the afterlife. I'm not saying there is no reward. Of course there's a reward. But that's not our motivation. The enjoyment is right now. It's Olam Hazeh. We enjoy participating in serving God. This is the life. Of course we have a Purim, a Simchas Torah. It's interesting, my Rav, so Gesundsein, Rabbi Fishbein, he always points out, he doesn't understand. You have people, they're not so frum, they come to Shul Shon Yom Kippur. And, alright, that's a big thing. It's not a small thing that they come to Shul Shon Yom Kippur. It's very choshev. But where are they on Purim and Simchas Torah, and Sukkot, Simchas Beis Sheyeva? Meaning, they're missing out on life. Life passes them by. And this is the life. And the mitzvos in themselves, one finds enjoyment and satisfaction. And that's okay. And that's actually good. That's what the psalmist says, that a person should find satisfaction in the religious life. I remember some years ago, it was a different religion, but what's the fellow's name? He was the Speaker of the House in the 90s, Newt Gingrich. So he converted to Catholicism for marriage. He married a woman named Callista. She's Catholic, and he converted to Catholicism. And he expressed himself to say that he finds tremendous satisfaction in the Catholic sacraments. And someone would think, is that really a good reason for someone to undergo a religious conversion? That's for enjoyment, that you have a sense of satisfaction? And I would say, of course, I disagree on the religion. It's a different religion. But for my religion, of course, we both are reading the same Psalms. I think it's true. We can say that a person should cherish and enjoy doing mitzvos, doing God's commandments. It should make us feel good. We should enjoy it. It's not we shouldn't feel guilty for enjoying the mitzvos. We shouldn't think it's weird. We shouldn't think it's strange. It's a geschmack. That's why God gave it to us. One of my patients asked me recently, someone who grew up from, and they're asking, does all this stuff really matter? And the point is, it's not about what it matters to God. It makes life so much more enjoyable. There's so much satisfaction from living a Torah life. And quite often the punishment for sin exists now in this world. It's not just about, someone's going to go burn in hell and they're enjoying themselves now. They're not enjoying themselves now. When a person I can talk from my own experience, the feelings of guilt that one has for not doing the right thing and the feelings of satisfaction that one has for doing the right things, and it's proper and true. It's nothing to feel ashamed of. It's not arrogant. It's not wrong. This is what brings satisfaction to life. And furthermore, this we can understand the Mishnah, who haya oimer, that in Tignis ish soicha said, al tiyu kavodim mishamshins harav al manas lekabel pros, al hevu kavodim mishamshins harav al manas shaloi al manas lekabel pros. Very famous, of course. Every Mishnah in Pirkei Avos is famous. So very famous and well-known Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, that in Tignis ish soicha, it's right at the beginning, it's the third Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, that he says, don't be like servants who serve their master in order to receive a reward, but rather be as servants who are as if they're serving their master not for the sake of receiving a reward. I remember I was giving a shiur once. I was Rav in Richmond, in the Bismedrash there, Kolemis, a very choshev Bismedrash, and there was a very choshev Yid. Unfortunately, he was nifter a few years ago. Jerry Swatz, choshev Alter Bacher, unfortunately, but a fine choshev Yid. And Jerry, he told me he loved Pirkei Avos because it's so easy to understand. It's not difficult like the Gemara. That's what Jerry said to me. And he said, and I was giving a shiur and he was listening, a shiur on Pirkei Avos. Yeah, you have. Yeah. And he said that, he never understood that Mishnah. I was just explaining the pshat in the Mishnah. I was saying that we shouldn't serve God because we want to get a reward going to heaven. We should serve God not for the sake of the reward, just be good for goodness sake, right? And he was like, wow, all the years I thought it meant you're supposed to go to work and not get paid. I never understood. It's like, there's tremendous joy in Shemayim. Such a Yid who faithfully learns Pirkei Avos. I remember I was in a taxi in Eretz Yisrael. And also one of these Israeli taxi drivers, he said, "Gam ani lomed Gemara." I said, "Ma telamed." I said, "I also learned the Talmud. What are you learning?" Pirkei Avot. So weiter. Gemara goes on. So that's what it means. I mean, we can have a deeper understanding of what it means that we should serve God not for the sake of receiving a reward, but for the sake of not receiving a reward. Meaning, to be good for goodness sake is a reward of itself. Meaning, it doesn't mean, the Gemara is telling us, that it doesn't mean, like you might think, you might have a Havamina that Antinish Isaicha is saying, even in this world, you shouldn't feel any satisfaction from doing mitzvahs, just be good for goodness sake. And so the Gemara is saying, no. You can enjoy doing mitzvahs, and get a geschmack from it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And in the mitzvahs itself, one should receive satisfaction. So we go back to Psalm 1. Because Kiyim Besoros Hashem Cheftzei. Similar term, that the man who is considered Ashrei Ish, the one who's happy and praiseworthy, the word Ashrei is, why don't you put it in the garbage instead of on the table? It means, also, so if he's not walking in the path of scorners and sinners and following the counsel of the wicked, so what is he doing? So the Psalm says, very famous, that one's also garbage, yeah. So what does the Psalm say? It says, Ki Besoros Hashem Cheftzei, that in the law of the Lord is his desire, in the Torah of Hashem. Amar Rebbe said, Rabbeinu HaKadosh said, Ein Adam loimed Torah el makom sheli bechafetz, shenemar ki Besoros Hashem Cheftzei. A person can only really be matzliach in Torah, be successful in his Torah study, put it in for 5 minutes, and when it starts popping, you listen to it pop, and when it slows down the popping to the point where there's 3 seconds between a pop, that's when you stop it. It's not going to take 5 minutes. It's probably going to take 3 minutes. But if it's in too long, it's gonna burn. So a person can really only succeed in Torah if he has a subject matter that he enjoys. As it says that in the Torah of the Lord is his desire. And sometimes people, their interest levels change, and what they're interested in changes. I mean, most people will say, a Masechta like Avodah Zarah is an interesting Masechta, and other Masechtas might not be as interesting, but then at a certain point in your life, then you find, even you get a geschmack from Kinim or something, which is true, you can get a geschmack from Kinim. I mean, it's a very chashuv Masechta, and there's a lot of segulas behind it, and so forth. All the Masechtas, ein segula k'Torah. But the idea that a person should learn in the place where he desires, that he should enjoy what he's learning, and he should find a subject that he's enjoying learning. But sometimes people sit around trying to think, well, what should I learn? And they sit there thinking so long they don't get to learn. So like a good friend of mine, Rabbi Kalati, he's my chavrusa in yeshiva. He's a very choshev German, a Rav in Great Neck. And Rabbi Kalati says, just learn, and you're gonna see the people. I remember he told me all the time, people, they spend too much time trying to think, what should I learn? What should I learn? And if you just start learning, you're gonna see. What is that? Wait a second. It's just a reflection. So, so that's how we should go. We should just learn, and not care, not think about it. Just go ahead and learn. But on the other hand, there is a thing. I remember on one of these Facebook groups. I don't know, it was Rational Judaism or something. Someone had a little bit of a. What visa heißt this? A poll. They were asking. They said, "There's a young man. He's not getting so interested in learning Gemara. He's in yeshiva, but he likes stories about wizards and dragons and things or something like that. What would you say? Would you say, he watches too much television? His parents ruined him by letting him watch television. Would you say, or letting him read secular books? Would you say that he needs a different rebbe? And my answer was, it was none of the above. My answer was, they should show him in the Gemara. No, it still has to pop more. Leave it popping more. It's going to be uncooked now. There are things in the Gemara about wizards and dragons and stuff, and I'll get him a geschmack to learning, and then he'll want to learn the rest of the Gemara too. All right, Levi. And so, what are we talking about? Makom sheli bechafetz. That Rabbeinu HaKadosh says the person should learn at things that he is interested in. Levi v'Rebbe Shimon v'Rebbe Yosfi Kami the Rebbe. So Levi and Rebbe Shimon, the son of Rebbe, were sitting in front of Rebbe learning. V'Kapas Kesidra. They were learning that week's Sedra. They were learning the Chumash, Bible, the Pentateuch. Sleek Safra, or it would seem that not only, maybe even Sidra doesn't just mean the weekly Sedra, could mean any book of Tanakh, any book of the Bible. So Sleek Safra, Levi Amar Laitulan Mishlei, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Amar Laitulan Tilim. So they finished one of the books of the Bible, and then they said, what should we learn now? So Levi said, I want to learn Mishlei, I want to learn Proverbs. They should bring us Proverbs, we'll learn Proverbs. Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rebbe, said, I want to learn Tilim. It doesn't say Tehillim, it just says Tilim. The book of Psalms. Kafil Levi. Rabbi Shimon won by to Tilim. He beat Levi, and they brought Tilim, and they learned Tilim. They learned the Psalms. Kimato hachakim b'soris Hashem cheftzei. Persh Rabbi Omer ein adam loimed Torah al makom sheli b'chafetz. Did it all cook, the popcorn? Yeah? Alright, maybe I'll have some. So, when it says this, they just opened the Psalms right at the beginning. And Rabbi said, like he just said, a person can only learn something that he wants to learn. And if he's not interested in learning, he's not going to learn. So Amar Rebbe, Amar Levi, Rebbe Nasata Li, Rishus Lamod. So Levi said, oh, if you're saying that a person can only learn something he wants to learn, I want to learn Proverbs, I didn't want to learn Psalms. So if you're learning Psalms now, that means I can get up and leave. If anybody has questions, you're welcome to put, I don't know, it's supposed to be a chat here or something, right? Is it there? Show, right? Yeah. Alright. So Amar Rabbi Avdimi Bar Chama. Rabbi Avdimi Bar Chama said as following: Kol oisik b'Torah, Kadosh Baruch Hu oisik leichavotzav. Shenamar kim b'soris Hashem cheftzei. Another explanation, the same pasuk, the same verse. Rabbi Avdimi Bar Chama said, anyone who learns Torah, Hashem gives him whatever he wants. The merit of learning Torah, because it says, in the Torah of the Lord is his desire. Meaning, of course, the simple meaning is that the desire is the Torah. But it could also learn it out to mean that with the Torah, what a person's wants can be fulfilled, that in the merit of Torah study. Here, this is your blanket, right? Then let me. I could have a little bit of. Already washed, so I had to. A little more of a malka. So that means that God gives you what you want in the merit of learning Torah. It needs more. That doesn't need salt, does it?
Yes.
All right. So Amar Rava. Rava said, "La'il nilmod adam Torah b'makom sheli b'chafetz." Let me. What are you trying to do? All right. Rava said a person should always learn Torah in an area of knowledge that his heart desires, something he wants to learn. Shenamar kim b'soris Hashem chefzo. That's what it says, that in the Torah of the Lord is his desire, meaning a person should learn what he wants. I have to keep it plugged in, it's nearly out of batteries. From a Rava v'tzchila nikris al shmai shel Kadosh Baruch Hu v'seif nikris al shmai. Rava says that if someone learns Torah, first it's God's Torah, but then it's his Torah, meaning your Torah. What does it mean? Shnemer Soros Hashem Cheftzei, Soros Yaga Yom Alayla. Because it says his desire is in the Torah of the Lord, and in his Torah he will meditate day and night, which means that acquire the Torah to be yours. Rava said, "Le'olam yimad adam Torah v'achar kach yaga, shnam b'soras Hashem v'hadar b'soras hayaga." Rava also said a person should first learn, and then he should meditate on what he learned, as it says in the Torah of Hashem, the Torah of the Lord, the Torah of God, and only afterwards does it say, and in his Torah does he meditate. Which means to say like this, that it's a simple thing, it should be common sense. You're thinking, you see people, they'll open one verse of Torah, they never learn anything in their life, and they find one little piece, and they make a whole theology out of one little tiny piece. There are many groups, many cults, all kinds of things, many people who throw away religion because they learn a little bit, and they didn't learn enough, and then they think that they're already a big maven. But if one learns diligently, and then at the end he realizes what he's learning, then he can meditate on it. Meaning once he's already filled up, his plate and studied and know what he's talking about, that's when he can contemplate and really try to. No, before that you can a little bit, but you're not going to get that much out of it. Maybe it's something that's a good exercise just to get started. So I don't want to discourage anybody from meditating on Torah, but it should be consistent with what the Torah says. Meaning people come up with all kinds of theologies that are inconsistent with Torah because they'll take one little verse out of context. So Vama Rava, another teaching of Rava, Ligris Inish, Valgav de Meshakach, Valgav de Layada Maikamar, Shenemar Garsa Nafshel Sava, Garsa Ksiv Lake Ksiv Techana. There's a very interesting piece of Gemara, and it seems that he's taking sides of a machlekes that we see already in the times of the Achronim, in the Chassidish tzaddikim. Rava says a person should always keep reading, learning, even though he forgets what he's learning, even if he doesn't even know what he's saying. He's just sitting and reading words, and he finds a biblical verse that supports this. Psalm 119, verse 20. It says, Gorsa nafshi l'sava. My soul is Gorsa, which we can translate here as being shattered with desire and yearning for God's laws always. And it says, now Gorsa is also a term of girsa, of learning. That's more Aramaic. But it means it's shattered, but doesn't mean that it's ground up. It's not totally, it's crushed into pieces, but not ground into like a powder. Meaning that the soul is looking forward to this, but also, like we said, the Aramaic term of girsa, of just saying over. Now this comes to a machlokes, it would seem, between Reb Nachman Breslover and Balatanya. Balatanya, Chabad, in his Shulchan Aruch Harav, Hilchos Talmud Torah, he would seem to say that one does not fulfill a mitzvah if one doesn't understand what he's learning. Reb Nachman Breslover, though, disagrees, and he says that no, actually, one should just read through, and he suggests, people should just read straight through Gemara, Mishnah, Medrash, Tanakh, Shulchan Aruch, Sifrei Musar, Zohar, whatever it is, even Chassidish Sfarim, whatever, just read. Hashkafa, just keep reading. Read all of the books, even if you don't understand. Then read them again and again. Eventually, you're going to understand it. And Rava, it seems, is saying the same thing. And my holy Zayda, the Chavas Yorah, brings in the Mekar Chaim really from his father and his Zayda, the same halacha lemaisa. Generally, most of the Sfarim, most of the poskim say that one fulfills a mitzvah reading scripture, reading the Bible, even if he doesn't know what he's reading. But Torah Shabbal Peh, the Talmud, Mishnah, with most poskim say you only fulfill a mitzvah if you know what you're reading. But the Zayda, the Mechkar Chaim, the Chavas Yair brings that an opinion that no, actually, the Heilige Zayda Chusi Galenu, Chavas Yair brings that actually one fulfills a mitzvah of learning, even just reading Gemara, even just davening through it, so to speak. Whether or not you understand what you're saying, like a friend of mine was asking, you really know what you're saying when you're learning, or are you just saying Tillim? So it's still better than nothing, Why wouldn't you just read through it? What? I mean, what's it better to read the New York Times? It's better to read the Gemara, even you don't know what you're saying, and this is what Rav is saying here. So we see it's already from Chazal that there's a purpose to keep reading, and eventually you're going to get it. If you don't give up, you're going to get it. So Rava brought up the following. He says, Ksiv al gape, Ksiv al kise. Proverbs 9, we have two seeming contradictions. One is that the Torah sends to invite the students to sit upon her wings. Another says upon her throne. So is it a chair or wings? What is it? So Rava answers with Chil al Gape. The student first sits on the wings, moving. So it's very bad connection. Right, it's back. V'seif al Kisei. But the end, he's sitting on a chair. He finds one place, and not only that, but he'll become a Rebbe himself, and he'll sit in the throne and teach. Similarly, in Proverbs 8:2, it says that the Torah stands at the top of the heights and stands upon the way. It's the same verse, Proverbs 8:2. So is it on the heights or on the way? But Chil Rosh Meraimim Seif Alei Derech. At first, he might go to the heights to run away and hide himself because he's afraid he's going to say the wrong thing. But in the end, he's going to be on the way in public. Ula Rame. Ula brings another contradiction. Ksiv Shesei Mi Barecha. Ksiv Noizel Metech Berecha. Ula brings in Proverbs 5:15. It says, drink water from your own cistern, and it goes on in the same verse saying, and flowing water from your own well. So is it a cistern or a well? A cistern collects water, a well flows. So at first you start from a cistern, what you collect in knowledge, and you can retain, even though it's finite and limited. But in the end, you're going to be like a well that's flowing. Amar Rav, Amar Rav Schar, Amar Rav Huna. Rav is the name of Rav Schar, is the name of Rav Huna. Ma'idach Siv, Hoin Mehevel Yimat V'Koivetz Al Yad Yarbe. So he asks, what is this verse? Also in Proverbs, we're in Proverbs 13:11. It says that wealth is gained by vanity. If wealth is gained by vanity, it will diminish, but that which is gathered by hand will increase. Meaning, if a person is dishonest, then he's not going to keep his wealth. Meaning, even if he gets a get rich quick, but there's no honesty, he's going to lose it. But someone who goes slowly and increases his wealth, that's going to increase. Now, it's not just talking about monetary wealth. We're going to see that it's also talking about Torah study. So, Rav Scharis and Rav Huna, his understanding is that if a person tries to gather everything all up at once, meaning he says, you hear people, they don't even know Aleph Beis, and they say, I already want to go learn for Smicha. I want to be a rabbi. It's good. You want to have a goal. You want to be a rabbi. Beautiful. Go and study and learn, but it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to invest a tremendous amount of time. If you think you're going to get it all at once, you're going to have nothing. But if you go slowly, you can do it. And you're going to gather bit by bit, you're going to become a big Talmud Chacham. Amar Rava, you'd be a big scholar. So Rava says, Yedei Rabbanan lahamilsa v'avrei Allah. So Rava says, he doesn't understand. The rabbis all know this, and they don't keep it, right? They go and they learn a lot, and they should be learning one thing and chazering it over, reviewing time, so they really maintain it, and yet they just keep learning, like, I'm kind of like that, I have attention deficit a little bit sometimes, not all the time, but especially, like, this is a very difficult thing for me, to sit here, and every day, I've been thinking about this, every day, to set aside time to make a Daf Yomi video. Even, I know the politics, Daf Yomi, for years I was, like, uncomfortable, and, like, so then I told myself, I'm going to go ahead, so now I'm not really learning Daf Yomi, right? Because really now I'm up to Zvachim. I learned this Avodah Zarah a few months ago. I went ahead on my own, and this is where Daf Yomi is up to. And whenever I have a few minutes here and there, I'll take a Gemara with me, and chaparine a little bit of learning, which is a good thing. I'm not saying what I'm doing is wrong, learning like that. But I don't have this time where I'm sitting and learning with, I'll chop an Amud here, especially the art scroll, it's divided into different pages. So, like, I can put a bookmark, I did this much, and I can come back to it later. And then, like, I'm kind of bored. I'm not really focused right now. So I learned the Gemara, and I'll learn a few Mishnayos, and I'll go ahead with the Mishnayos, and I'll go to the Chok Yisrael, and I'll go to my Tanakh, and throughout the day I'll finish all my shir, whatever I want to learn for that day, and maybe a little bit extra, and sometimes a little bit less. Depends on the day. All kinds of things can go on in the day. To do something like this, to have this, Visa heist is, what's the word I'm thinking of, an English word? To have this discipline, to try to sit down and make it, even though sometimes I chop up the videos, I don't do it all at once because I can't, and I'm distracted. I try to finish it. Now I fell a little bit behind. I'm on today's daf. Usually I like to be a day ahead. So that's why I'm making the live video now. And I appreciate the people who are watching it. And I hope more people watch it later as well. But I transgress this. I go all over the place. And I've always kind of been like that, even when I didn't know as much learning. And still I have a lot more learning to do. And still is... And I notice, sometimes my learning is very superficial. And it's not even... It's just saying words. But I got a lot of chizik here from what Rava said. Don't worry about that. Sometimes that's what you got to do, and then other times you'll connect. You connect to your neshama, the learning, and all the things that you just said, you just read through, is also going to have an aliyah. It's also going to be spiritually uplifted. So don't worry. Just keep learning. Don't get discouraged. So Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak, Ana Avidsa Kaim Biyadi. So Rav Nachman Yitzchak said, he did, like Rav Huna said, to learn slowly, and he was matzliach. He was successful. So that's for Rav Nachman or Yitzchak. That's what worked. We can talk about the psychology of the different sages and different people. Everybody really has their own approach. So you can't say what works for one person is going to work for someone else. But it's interesting. We'll go weiter. We'll try to finish the daf, and then I'm thinking, when I finish this daf, I want to do a little bit of Malava Malka, and we'll make that a separate feed. We're going to pause this to make it a separate video and invite again. So we'll see. So Amar Rav Shizvi, maybe stories and things from Malava Malka. Maybe that's be a little bit more popular. But I'm very happy for the folks who are here, and I thank you for being here. God bless you. Amar Rav Shizvi Mishmei, the Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. Rav Shizvi said the name of Rav Elazar ben Azariah. We know Rav Elazar ben Azariah right from the Pesach Seder. What does it mean in Proverbs 12:27 that a deceitful person will not catch his the thing he's hunting for? So the Gemara says, the person who's hunting in a deceitful way will not have a long life. Meaning, if someone is they're learning because they want the honor, they want to trick people, and he thinks, and he uses his wisdom that he gains from Torah study to trick other people, to mislead other people, he's not going to have a long life. I've seen sad cases like this, and maybe I'm guilty of this myself and I have to do tshuva. Maybe I'm not as bad as others, but I'm still pretty bad and I need to do tshuva. Think of a case, a Rav who I know, and unfortunately I've known him for many, many years, and unfortunately, brilliant person, he could mamish be a gadol, brilliant mind, and a Talmud Chacham, and engaged in a lot of wrong things, and we're hoping he's doing tshuva now, because he had a wake up call. I also need a wake up call. We all need wake up calls. He really hit rock bottom, would seem, and I feel bad for him, and I hope he can do tshuva. So Rav Sheshes Amar Tzayder Mayachrech. Sheshes, remember, if Sheshes was Namora who was blind, he learned it differently. He saw a question mark here. He didn't see it as a statement, but a rhetorical question. Will a cunning hunter not catch what he's trying to hunt and roast it? Surely that's how that's how you catch a deer or a bird or whatever you're trying to catch in the woods. You need to be cunning. So the same thing. If someone is trying and learning and trying to use his mind and learning to try to, is certain yeshivas, I'm not talking about aveiros like this other story. I'm not talking about someone who's doing something that's really, really bad, and not only that, but victimizing other people and taking advantage of people in a very negative way. To a certain extent, it says between him and the Kodesh Baruch Hu, but there's certain times when certain things go too far. But we're not talking. Let's put that aside for now. We talk about, certain yeshiva. I'm not going to say what yeshiva it is. They learn very slowly, which is good. That's what we said. You're supposed to learn slowly, to a certain extent. But the other thing is that divrei Torah niim b'makom echad v'shir b'makom acher. You lose, if you don't have Bekiyas, you lose out on general knowledge and you can come to wrong conclusions. But they learn very slowly, only a little bit, in this particular yeshiva, but the biggest goal is that they could upshlug their Rebbe, they could upshlug even the Rosh Yeshiva, and that they can, The Reshiva, he builds a whole, building, binyan, a whole edifice of, explaining, bringing from here and there and putting all these pieces together to put together some kind of svara, some kind of logical thing. And one of the Bachrim can come and uproot the whole thing from the foundation. Then they feel like they're a big shot, So isn't that sort of sheshes? It seemed to say there's a mile in that. So, Kiosar of Dimi Amar Marshal Adam Shetzad Ziporin in Mishaber Knafeh Shal Rishoina Kol Miskaimus Biyadei from Love Ein Miskaimus Biyadei. So if Dimi said yes and no. He said if someone's catching birds, if he clips the wings of the first one so he doesn't fly away, so then he's going to be able to catch before he catches another bird. So then he'll keep them. But if he catches one and goes after the other one and fails to clip the wings of the first one, so then the first one will fly away when he's catching the second one. So you have to have a proper plan of review and everything, and a little bit of everything, or else you could tend to forget different things. Back to our psalm, the first psalm, in the beginning of Tehillim. V'haya, we sang this by the Tish on Tu B'Shvat. V'haya ke'esh shosel palgei moyim. That this man who desires Torah and all these praise that we lavish upon such a person, he said it'll be like a tree that's planted by a stream of water, which is a very good place for a tree to be. A tree doesn't want to be in the desert with no water, right? I remember the very Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai's student said like this: K'etz shasul v'loi k'etz netua. This word shasul, that the tree is rooted, not planted. It's rooted. Kololoimed termer of echad iner in resimen bracha loylam. Roots go out to many different places, not planted in one place. Meaning, if someone only learns from one teacher, he's going to miss out on his Torah study. Is not going to be blessed. In order to really gain a full appreciation of Torah, one has to have more than one Rebbe. It's good to have one Rebbe for, even to have a different Rebbe for different things. This is an issue that we see with particularly certain Hasidic groups, that they become obsessed in a cult-like mindset with their Rebbe, and they won't go anywhere else. And so by their group, we do things this way, and like everything else is possible. Certain group I can think of, they won't learn the Ramchal, and they won't learn the Ketzos. Another group, they'll say that's a Halbitzer. Another group, it'll be a pasuk in Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It's not like, that's from Deuteronomy 6:4. The Rebbe said Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And any other Rebbe, they put them down, and other Abbonim, they're like, Gedolei Yisrael, they insult, and that's why they don't have a Simon Bracha in their learning. You don't see tremendous Talmidei Chachamim coming from this particular Chatzar. A few, one or two here or there, and most of those people who are real big Talmidei Chachamim are not for Brenta Hasidim of this Hasidus. They're part of the culture of that Hasidus, but they don't have the cult mindset. And to each his own. But to me personally, I've seen tremendous blessings in life to have many Rabbanim, many Rebbeim, and not to pigeonhole, to say, I'm this or that chassid. I think it's better to be receiving from everywhere, and not to be limiting yourself. So Amar lahu Rav Chisda Rabbanan. Rav Chisda said to the rabbis, excuse me, I want to tell you something. Mistafina the shav kisu livas lisu. Kalaloi mitem Rav Echad ein arosim in brachalayim. Shavku va'azul kamen the rabba. So Rav Chisda said, I have a personal reason why I don't want to tell you this, because I'm afraid if I teach you this, you're going to leave me, and I won't have any Talmidim. Here in Sullivan County, we have a few very choshev Talmidei Chachamim, choshev Rabbanim. One, he was crying. He's like, I need Talmidim, and he feels like he's missing something because he used to have a yeshiva, a few bachrim. Now he doesn't, and he feels like he's missing something unless someone's coming to learn with him. And the same thing, we feel the same way. In our Bis Medrash, we struggle in a small town to have a minyan, and we're nervous that what are we going to lose if we send someone somewhere else? We're not going to get them back. However, I have to tell the truth. If someone learns just from one Rebbe, he's not going to see any blessing. Now, the biggest problem that we have, though, is that we're worried that they're going to wind up going to one of these cults. There's one, the next town over, one of these cult people are, and we've lost a lot of neshamas to them, and similarly, two choshev shuls, one in this county, one in another county, were lost to this cult, the same cult. In the other county, what horrible thing! It's not time to talk about it, but there's what to be worried about. However, this is the case of something different. Shavku v'azul kamen l'Rava. The students left Rav Chisda and they went to Rava. Amalahu hanimil Zarah. Avol Gemara Rav Echad Adif. Rabba said that this idea that you should have more than one Rebbe talks about a svara, thinking logically how to reason. However, Gemara, the text itself, is better to have one Rebbe. Because there's different versions of the Gemara, and you're going to have a problem. You're going to be confused. Which version are we following? It's not that late. It's 9:37. Okay. So now we're on Amud Beis. You test Amud Beis in the Avodah Zarah. Alpalge Moyim. Right? The verse said that he's like a tree planted, rooted by streams of water. Amar Rabbi Tanchem Bar Chanilai la'oil mishalish adam shnaisav shlish b'mikra, shlish b'mishnah, shlish b'Talmud. So if Tanchem Bar Chanilai said someone should be like by streams of water, that means he should divide his life into streams and divide his years into 3 pieces. To know the Bible, to know the Mishnah, and to know Gemara, Talmud. So the Gemara asks, so it is saying, let's say a person's going to assume he's going to live for 90 years, so he'll spend 30 years on the Bible, 30 years on Mishnah, and 30 years on the Talmud. How does he know he's going to live to be 90? How can he make that calculation? So the answer is no. Each day, you should spend some time in the Bible, sometime in the Mishnah, sometime in the Talmud. That's why we have the Chokli Yisrael. The Arizal made a big deal of this. It's already in the Gemara. It's not some chiddush the Arizal made of the Chokli Yisrael. It's here. It's already Chazal already taught us this. Vayter Sheperi Ten Beitoi. So the psalm says, first psalm says, that it yields its fruit in due season. Amarava, imperiatin be'ita v'leil yibol, v'mlav, koloimed v'alamalamed, aleim kosav oimer, leicheni rishoim kiyim, k'moitz eshel ufnei ruach. That if he yields the fruit in due season, and the leaf doesn't wither, everything he does succeeds. But if not, meaning what does it mean to have the fruit in its due time? Do you have time every day to learn? Because if not, if you don't learn at the right time, you don't do mitzvah at the right time, then it goes on to say that he's a wicked like the shaft that the wind blows away. Everything has a time and a place. You're not going to do a mitzvah of sukkah in July. Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav. Rabbi Abba is the name of Huna, the name of Rav. Ma'arechsev ki rabim chalolim hapilu. He's going to ask, what does it say in Proverbs 7:26? Rabbi Abba is the name of Huna, the name of Rav. What does it mean that there's many victims who fell to the sword? Talmud Chacham shelo yigia la'ira amoira. Who are the victims? What's the word? Who leaves victims like this? Is a student, a disciple, who decides he's going to make himself into a Rav, and he's not ready for it yet. He's not mature enough. He hasn't reached that level in his learning yet. But sumim kol haragaha. There are many that she killed. So Talmud shegil Rav ein Moira. However, the one who kills the many mighty ones is the one who should be a rabbi and doesn't teach and leaves people without being taught. It's also a big crime. So there's a crime of commission, a crime of omission. So we have to be careful to avoid both of them and to teach when we're the things we know what to teach. And the thing is l'maisa, if you know Aleph Beis, you could teach Aleph Beis, But it's about Kama. So what point? When does a scholar have to wait? How old does he have to be before he can really teach? That means also to give a psak halacha, meaning, you could be ordained as a rabbi and go work in a synagogue and preach, but excuse me. But if you're going to go preach, you have to know who. You can't just say whatever you want. You have to have a rebbe. You need a psak. You need a dayan, someone who's going to give you a psak, that types of things. What point can a person align verna dayan? So ad arbon shnin. When he's 40 years old, then he can already be a poisik, a dayan something. V'ha rava urei. But how could it be there are certain people, they were less than 40 years old and they were already teaching, like Rava. Rava was 40 years old when he was nifter, when he passed away. So Hasan b'shavin. So there, by Rava, there was nobody else. Yeah, you have a question? All right, you can ask a question. I'm going to keep talking until I read the question. So by Rava, there was nobody else. He was the chief rabbi. But please ask the question. Go ahead. Is it all right. Since he was the biggest rabbi there, so he had no choice but to teach. But if there was someone bigger than him, then he wasn't allowed to. V'leil yibol. Weiter. It says that his leaf doesn't wither. Excuse me. And please put the question. I'm waiting to see. Amarav Acha Bar Adar Amarav, and I'll answer the question as soon as I see it, or I'll think about it if I know. So Acha Bar Adar said the name of Rav. Don't feel like you're interrupting. Please go ahead. Should a person follow the Rav of one's family or find a Rav for themselves? It's a very good question. And the answer that I would say, humbly, we can see in Chazal that people didn't always follow their family Rebbe. This has to be a personal question, and it's connected to what we're learning. If there's something wrong with their family's Rav, of course you shouldn't follow the family's Rav. Of course you should find someone else. Even if the person is a fine person, there's nothing wrong with him, but you just don't connect, of course you got to find somebody else. But also we said that you're going to see a blessing when you have more than one Rav also. So maybe your family is a particular Rav, but then you find someone who works for you. I would suggest, though, to speak to your family about it. Don't insult them about it. If you feel like you need to find your own, you find your own. That's really a personal question. And if your family's Rav works for you, don't feel like you're missing out. That's the other thing. I mean, let's say you found somebody else that's working for you, that's the person that you feel your neshama is attached to, and you developed a real relationship properly of how you're supposed to have your Rav. So then it goes. But some people, they're going around and they're like, nobody's good enough. They're always going to be looking around and saying, this guy, he's not really, I have to have a real big Rebbe. I need to be a student of the Gadol Ador, Not necessarily. There's a segula of any Rav. Anyone who sits and learns, doesn't matter how he dresses, doesn't matter if he has a beard and payas, doesn't matter if there's a shtreimel, a hat, a yarmulke. That's not what's important. Someone who sits and learns, that's what's important. And you got to find what works for you. It's not about now. But on the other hand, usually God guides you to where you're supposed to be. So if you're going to be like, this one's not good enough, that one's not good enough, and you think you're a big maven, you're a connoisseur of rabbis, and you're always belittling, I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but there are people like that. It's a big problem, and it's not healthy. So the answer is that you could have more than one Rav. And you can be respectful to your family's Rav, and also say that, but this is my Rav. But the family's Rav is also like, when is it an issue? You're going to have a chasana. Who's going to be Masar Kedushin? And, who are you going to give Sheva Brachas to? Who are you going to make an Eid Kedushin? These are the type of questions. But it has to be a personal question. But you can, for some people, it's good to stay with the family Rav, and for some people, it's good to find someone else. It always depends on who you. But generally, I would say, don't leave one until you have someone else, and don't even leave the one when you have someone else. Just maybe the other one can be your main Rav, and especially sometimes a lot of Rabbanim are very busy. And you can find someone else who's not as busy, who can give you more attention for whatever you need and answer your questions right away. I was a Rav in the shul, and we had a mikveh there. So the shul had a particular posek. That was the posek for the mikveh. But he was a very busy, big posek. So I knew someone else I could call. When I couldn't get a hit, meaning I tried to get a hold of this very famous Rav. who's very busy, and I couldn't get a hold of him, so I'll call someone else who I know he's always going to pick up the phone. The other person may be controversial, maybe not, might not be the best person to go to, but I know he knows the answer, right? And so forth with all of these things. So, I think the best answer is you can have two Ravs. You can have your family Rav, and you can have another one, and maybe a third or a fourth also, for different things. And sometimes the same things, and sometimes you can't reach one, you reach the other. But you shouldn't have contradictory Rabbanim either. That's the thing. Like, you can't say, well, I'm gonna eat kitnios and daven Ashkenaz or something. I don't know. It's you have to be consistent. Sometimes you can be strict, like both ways. Like I remember Rabbi Hammer's Gesundsein. He said like this. He said, if you eat gebrocks on Pesach, then you have to sit in the sukkah on Shmini Atzeres. But if you don't eat gebrocks on Pesach, then you can eat inside on Shmini Atzeres. But what if you want to be machmir on both ends? That's also. But I mean, you can, and I know people who do. You can be strict and not eat gebrocks, and also be strict and sit in the sukkah. But can you be lenient in both ways? That you don't. I'm saying for Ashkenazim that you don't eat in the sukkah. I don't know what the Sephardim do with Shmini Atzeres. I should ask Rabbi Siegel. What? It looks like you have a Sephardic name. What does Sephardim do with Shmini? That's interesting that I don't know that. I usually know the minhagim of the Sephardim and Ashkenazim. I would assume the Sephardim also eat in the sukkah though on Shmini Atzeres. But you have to be consistent. That's the one thing. And also you have to find what works for you. So is that a good answer? I don't know. So we'll go weiter. I'm just talking too much and not really saying anything. I'm just thinking out loud because it's a very difficult. It's an excellent question, a difficult question. It's something you have to contemplate for a long time, but it should be respectful, no matter what. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think it's a good answer? I see you say thank you, and I thank you for the question. You might want to talk about it privately because you don't want to mention the names who you're dealing with. If there's a problem with somebody, maybe that's, I know certain communities, they'll have a very, certain people, they might feel that their parents Rabbanim are too modern for them, and they want a more Haredish Rav, or maybe it's the other way. Maybe their Rav is too frum, and they want someone more modern, but who's still frum. That could also be something to have in mind. All right, what works for you? Because everybody's soul is drawn in a different way. Sometimes someone looking for someone more intellectual. Sometimes you're looking for someone more emotional. And I made a video. You should look up the video I had. The difference between a Rebbe and a Rav and a Rosh Hashiva. Sometimes you could have one person who is all three: a Rebbe, a Rav, and a Rosh Hashiva. But there's a difference between a Rebbe and a Rav. Meaning the Rebbe, maybe you're going for the emotional aspect. The Rav, you're going for the intellectual aspect. Or the Rebbe could be for philosophical issues, and the Rav is for halachic issues. And a really qualified rabbi should embody both of those aspects, or maybe all three. Everybody has their own thing. So, in that case, though, it's good to have both a Rebbe and a Rav and a Rosh Hashiva. You could have three different people because they're three different positions. Or sometimes you have one person. Certain Rebbes you can think of that they embodied. I don't mean to be controversial. The Satmar Rav. Satmar Rav was a Rav. He was a Rebbe. He was Rosh Hashiva. He was all three, and he excelled in all three. And And certain people, they understand. Certain rebbes, you ask them a shaila in halacha, they say, I'm a rebbe, I'm not a rav. You ask a shaila in halacha to a rav, not a rebbe. And they'll tell you that if they're honest. And they say, and even they'll say, I could paskin. I know enough to paskin. That's not my job. My job is to be a rebbe, not a rav. I've heard rebbes have told that to me. And there's something to say with that as well. Weiter in the Gemara. Thank you for the question. V'leo lo yibol. Amar of Acha bar Ada Amar Rav. Rav Acha bar Ada said the name of Rav about where it says his leaf will not wither, and he will succeed in everything he does. V'amar lo Amar Rav Acha bar Abba Amar Rav Hamnuna Amar Rav. Some say that Rav Acha bar Abba, not Rav Acha bar Ada, was he said, but Rav Acha bar Abba said the name of Rav Hamnuna, said the name of Rav. Shafil sichas chulin shal talmidei chachamim tzricha Talmud shenemar v'leo lo yibul v'chol asher yaseh yatzliach. Rav Acha bar Abba is the name of Rav Hamnuna, and the name of Rav, that even the sichas chulin, the secular conversation, the casual words of a Torah scholar, of a Talmud Chacham, you need to learn, why is he saying like this? On one hand, the way a Talmud Chacham talks is a very refined way. Generally, you're not going to hear a Talmud Chacham use foul language, and if you do, once in a while, I'm not going to say you never hear it, but it's calculated. Why is this word being used at this time? It's a refined, honorable, scholarly language. And that's what it says, and his leaf will not wither, and everything he does succeeds. It means to say that even the leaf, which is so light, and leaves tend to wither, of any part of the tree, it's the trunk that's strong, but the leaf usually tends to eventually fall away. But if it's a strong leaf that's well fed, well watered, the leaf couldn't stay for a long time. And so too, the leaves of the Talmidei Chachamim would be their light words, things that they say in passing, just the way they talk. When they talk about secular things, you learn a lesson in that. Weiter. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, and it's interesting, the Reb Tzadok, in a few places, Reb Tzadok HaKohen from Lublin, he brings this whole question about the Sichas Chulin of Talmidei Chachamim, but we'll leave that aside for now. Very beautiful Torahs he has on that. People should look up. So I'm Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, and learn it. You need a good Rebbe to teach Reb Tzadok, because sometimes it can be difficult. I'm Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Davar Zeh Kasav B'Torah. V'shanim Anviyim, V'shulush Baksuvim. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said the following thing we find in the Torah, in the prophets, and in the writings. Anyone who learns Torah is going to be financially successful. Kasav B'Torah, Dichsev Ushmartem Es Divrei Abris Azos V'Sisim V'Sim Taskilo is Kol Asher Tasun. It says in Sefer Dvarim, in Deuteronomy 29:8, that you should be careful to keep all the words of this covenant and do them in order that you should be successful and intelligent in everything you do. The same teaching is repeated in the prophets. Joshua 1:8, Sefer Yehoshua says, Lo Yamush Sefer Torah Zem Mipicha V'Gisa V'Yem Elayla Mantish Melasos Kichol HaKosav Boiki Oz Tasliach Esdrachecha Oz Taskel. Joshua says that this book of the Torah should not depart from your mouth day or night. You should study it day and night, in order that you should keep to do everything that's written in it, and then you'll be successful in your ways, and then you will prosper. So we see a certain prosperity gospel, quote unquote, in the words of our sages. Meshulush Baksuvin Lichsiv, and the third teaching is what we just quoted in the Psalms. Ki Mesuris Hashem Chefze, Mesurasa Yega Yemulayla, Vahakate Shosel, Palge Moyim, Shapiritin Bita Valel Yibel V'chol Asher Yasa Etzliach. That the one who studies Torah and desires Hashem's Torah, the Torah of the Lord, and studies it day and night, then he'll be like a tree which is planted with deep roots by the streams of water, that will yield its fruit in due season, and the leaf will not wither, and everything that he does will be successful. And when we say everything he does will be successful, even not only his spiritual pursuits will be successful, but his material pursuits will also be successful. Now we have a very famous Gemara. Machriz Rebbe Alexandri, Man boyechaye, man boyechaye. Rebbe Alexandri, he went out and he screamed, "Who wants life? Who wants life?" Kanuf asu kulei alma lagabe. Everyone, the whole world came. Everybody wants life. Amalei havlon chaye. They said, "Give us life." Amalahu, he showed them what says and tell him, Miho ish hachavetz chayim. Who is the man who desires life, who wants to have a good long life? In Psalm 34, verses 13 and 14. Guard your tongue. Make sure you don't talk lashon hara. Don't speak deceitful words. Don't speak slanderous words. Turn away from evil. Do good. So it seems to indicate that if you want to live, you got to be careful what you talk about, and if you're not careful, it's not good for your life. So Shema Yom Adam Tzarti L'Shoni Mirav Svasa Ben David Mira Eilech V'Skar B'Shena. Excuse me. Talmud Loimar Samarav Asay Toiv Ein Toiv Elater Shneim Klekach Toiv Nasati L'Chem Terasi El Tazoivu. If a person thinks it's enough just not to talk lashon hara, and he can go and sleep and be lazy, the answer is no. You got to learn Torah, because you have to go away from evil and do good. It's not enough not to do bad. You have to go and do good, and good is Torah, as it says, "I have given you a good teaching. Do not forsake my Torah." We know this very well in Psalm 4:2 when we say that when we put away the Torah. Higia lakipa, malkum shemamidim ba avodah chavim. So after all of this agadata, we're back to the halachas that we were studying in our Mishnah. If you remember, the Mishnah says that you cannot help build a basilica or a bathhouse and so forth. So certain bathhouses they would have, we're going to have a Mishnah later on in the Avodah Zarah, a very interesting Mishnayos in Avodah Zarah, talking about a statue of Aphrodite. Aphrodite is what it says in the Mishnah, Lashon Mishnah, that was erected in the bathhouse. So they would put a dome in the bathhouse and put an idol there. The Roman custom was. So Amar Belazar, and we're not allowed to help a Roman build such a thing. So Amar Belazar Rabbi Yochanan in bonus chaim mutar. Belazar saying that Rabbi Yochanan, if he did build it and they got paid for it, he's allowed to keep the money, because it's not actually the idol. It's only where they're going to put later the idol. Pshita. That's obvious. Why do we have to say that? Misham shivat is kechavim, hey misham shivat is kechavim, and will be shmurl, and will be kiva in the sunnah shiavdu. This is not the actual idol. It's only something that's going to serve the idol. And since both according to Rabbi Yishmael and both according to Rabbi Akiva, according to both opinions, the accessories to idolatry are not prohibited until the idol is actually worshipped. So Amar b'Yirmiyah lo nitzrucha l'avodas kechavim atzma. Yirmiyah said this is only an issue with the actual idol. I mean, let's say the Jew even made an idol. He sculpted a statue that later is going to be used as an idol, until they worship the idol, the money is still also permitted, would seem. Because he just made it as a statue, even though he's not allowed to do that, he couldn't have benefit from the money, it would seem, according to Rabbi Yirmiyah, which is very difficult. So, Nichlam the Amr is Kacham Shal Yisrael Asur Miyad, Shal Akum Ad Shtiyavad Shaper. So he says, now we can understand, we could say, according to Rabbi Shmuel, if a Jew makes an idol to worship, that is prohibited right away, has to be destroyed. There's no way to fix that. But a Gentile who makes an idol, when he makes the idol, it's not prohibited to have benefit from it until he actually worships the idol. So that makes sense. That's Rabbi Yishmael's opinion, the first opinion. The second opinion is Rabbi Akiva. Even when a Gentile makes an idol, even before he worships it, the idol is prohibited to have any benefit. We're prohibited to have any benefit from it. So how can you say that he could take money even from making the idol? Even he's making it for the Gentile. And we're not saying he's allowed to do it. We're just saying what happens after the fact, if God forbid he would do such a thing. Rabbi Barula said, "Lo nitzchel makish achron." So Rabbi Lazar seems to say, even with the Makab Patish, the last, when he actually finishes making the statue, that even then, if God forbid he would do such a thing, he could still keep the money. And generally, with other things, he couldn't. Why? But it's kechavim man kagarim la gamar malacha. Amos havi gamar malacha makash achron leis be shava pruta. The answer is like this. I mean, it's one of these Talmudic intellectual things like this. He said, the pagan is not going to worship the idol until it's finished. And the finishing of the building is the last time he hits with the hammer. And, we're going to make until that, it's not a complete idol. Until the last time he hits with the hammer. Right? We're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. On the time. So that hammer hit, how much does he get paid for that? It's less than a penny. It's worthless. So Alma Kasavar Yeshna L'Schiris Mitchil Ad Seif. So we show that Rabbi Lazar holds that it's not, that each action is paid for separately, and it's not all one payment in the end. If it was all one payment, then it would be prohibited. Again, he's not saying the action is definitely prohibited. Question is, if someone would sin, do a sin and make it, what is the law after that? Once it's done already. We're almost done with our daf. And I want to thank everybody who joined me and thank everybody for the questions. Mishnah says you cannot make any ornaments for an idol, necklaces, nose rings, and rings. And Rabbi Eliezer says that if he's getting paid, he's allowed. What does that mean? So Tosfos says we're going to leave this out totally because it doesn't make sense. But we'll just read the words and go weiter. And so the Mishnah goes on to talk about things you're not allowed to sell to pagans. And Moichelam mechuber lakarka, avol moicher hu l'kshiyat. What are you doing?
I'm blowing the candle.
Why are you blowing out the candle? You're not allowed to blow out candles.
So Shabbos?
No, we don't blow out candles. Why do you want to put out the candle? We have candles from Lava Malka. So it says we don't sell plants that are attached to the ground to a pagan. Can you put the couch back?
Okay.
Avol moichu mishikotzeitz, but you could sell them the plants that have been cut. Moichu hu almas lokates. He said, no, you could sell them a plant that's attached to the ground on the condition that's going to be cut down. We're going to explain what the whole reasoning behind this issue is. This is specifically in Eretz Yisrael, about the ownership of the land and so forth. And then the whole question is about the plants and everything, and we're going to talk about that in tomorrow's daf. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. If people watching this later, feel free to comment or thank everybody. Thank Leah for her question. Thank anybody else who's watching. And we're in a few minutes. We're going to have the Malava Malka with a little bit of Zmiras and some stories. And it's already after 10 o'clock. I have to get up early. I have a wedding tomorrow. So I'm not going to keep it too long, too late. But we'll enjoy a little bit of Malava Malka. So we're going to end this feed now. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, especially those who are watching later. And I thank everybody who watched it now. This is going to help us, get to our 4,000 hours at some point, because the live feeds are a good way to do it. So thank you so much for joining. All right.